This is it. Episode 14 of M&F Reps, and we're going to give it 60%. So get ready for a semi-decent show.
And we really thought out the topics today. I mean, it's really impressive stuff. We did a ton of research, and I think we're going to shock the world right now.
All 4 viewers are going to be less bored than last time.
We have like 8 now. It's impressive.
Did you see this? It's from Rutgers.
High intensity interval. Let's read it.
Oh, boy. There he is. Magoo.
People engaged in high-intensity interval training are at greater risk for injury, especially in the knees and shoulders, Rutgers study found. Okay.
I mean, kind of makes sense.
Yeah, of course.
It kind of seems like...
There's risk, reward.
Yeah. I wasn't really shocked, but I felt like, I don't know, I was reading some comments and I was reading reactions, and it seemed like, I don't know, I felt like I don't have any examples to support it right now.
But it's like saying, are you going to get? Do you have a better chance in getting hurt if you're jogging, a block, or sprinting a block? I mean, I don't think that's a really hard assumption to make. You know, it's come on when you're pushing your body to a limit, the heavier you go, the more you push. Yes, there's going to be more risk reward.
But do you think there's a lot of there's a lot of emphasis I feel like put on high-intensity interval training, especially before, weight loss. So do you think that people just see that as some sort of buzzword, so they continuously do it, not really understanding the impact that's put on there?
And I
just won't even finish.
No, I thought you were done. I thought you were done.
No, please, here, done.
No, go ahead with your crappy,
here.
Daily Mail article that you just pulled. No, it's fine. No, I'm going to listen. I'm not going to talk now. I'm not going to talk.
No, I mean, I think you knew where I was going with it, but do you know what I mean? If like they don't consider that it's a lot of punishment. So they don't take the time to recover, or that they do need to maybe work in other methods. So there is a lot of pounding and punishment to this high-intensity interval training. So, of course, it can lead to training, or it can lead to injury.
I agree. I think that people are looking at, they're trying to read the science on, all right, high-intensity training is going to burn that much more fat than steady state, right? And I know steady state burns fat, and I know high intensity burns fat. I think where a lot of the benefit, more of the benefit from high intensity training comes from, is that in time, I feel like our bodies learn to move slower. So if you're always doing steady state, if you're always moving weight slowly, if we're all aging and we're crossing the street and we're moving not as fast and we're losing that reaction and response time, I feel like higher intensity interval training I feel like it's more beneficial in the simple fact of just teaching the body to be quick, to be fast. And that's important, because as the body slows up and as we stop moving, that's when we start losing that ability to react and mobility. And there's probably not an adult out there that can say that, crossing the street one day and they're about to get hit by a car and they have to kind of pick it up and move, and they're like, oh, wow, body's not moving as quickly. You feel it, I feel it. You know what I'm saying? Don't tell me you don't feel it.
I just lower the shoulder.
And just put your shoulder in the car,
Yeah. Bad news for the car.
I'm less worried about the fat burning effect of like, all right, what's better? Like, I'm a believer that you need to rotate them. I'm a believer that you have to look at the individual and what their body can handle. I'm a believer that high intensity interval training, there is a cost of doing business. And if you overstay your welcome, you can really tax the body too much. I believe you got to rotate too, but some people haven't earned the right to do high intensity interval training yet. If you can't move well, or if you're a bodybuilder and you're used to moving slow and suddenly they're going to hop on a treadmill and do 5 to 10 second sprints all out, the chance of them getting hurt is probably really good. So their best selection, their best choice is probably steady state. That's what they have to go to.
Right, but you're also going to emphasize diet being the more important piece of that puzzle. Like if somebody's looking for the quick fix of using high intensity interval training to get lean fast, it's not really... it's not the best method. Your best method is going to be, as we've said numerous times, probably ad nauseum, to all 3 people who have watched all 14 of these, you got to look at what you're eating.
I agree.
I know. I hate hearing that thing beep. God.
Blame Daniel.
Do you ever watch the CrossFit Games?
Yeah, I've watched them.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never watched a second.
I've watched the second. I have never watched like a full episode. I probably sat there and watched maybe 5-10 minutes of it.
I feel like you'd have to hold me hostage to watch it.
You know what I'm shocked about? Like these guys, these guys are good Olympic lifters. Like when you see them actually Olympic lift, like they're strong. Like they're in there doing like work with 350, like hang cleaning. Like they're strong dudes.
You watch baseball?
I watch a lot of baseball. I wonder how many of the CrossFit guys are on the gear.
Probably a lot.
I would assume almost all of them.
Yeah. I mean, if it's your livelihood, if it's part of the game. But, I mean, maybe they're doing it in a way in which it's as the healthiest it could possibly be to get them to where they need to be to position them to win.
Maybe they're not.
Maybe they're not.
Maybe they're just putting shit in their body.
Which is a possibility.
CrossFit Games, yeah, I've watched. I mean, they're entertaining. It just doesn't really do it for me. It's tough for me to watch a lot of fitness shows.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna come home and watch like fitness shows. Like I come home and watch like The Office. I watch Billions. I've been watching The Office with my daughters.
You just started it, right?
It's hilarious.
I can't believe you just started it.
We're in like season 6 already. We are dying. It's so freaking funny.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's funny too because I trained John Krasinski, the guy who plays Jim.
Yeah, I know he is.
And he's he's one of the nicest guys I've ever worked with. But
he's now known as Jack.
From Jack Ryan.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the nice. Honestly, one of the nicest. Him and his wife are amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. And he's just fun to be around.
Even if he wasn't, though, you couldn't really say it.
I wouldn't say anything.
Yeah. What would you say?
I would say, I work with him.
I work with John Krasinski, and that's it.
But I'm honestly saying he's one of the nicest guys I've worked with.
Would you say it like that and then like look?
If I was working with someone and I didn't give I would not give a compliment. Like, oh yeah, no, I work with him.
Yeah. So Joe DeSena wants to take Spartan Race into the Olympics. Do you think that that's going to happen ever?
No.
Why not?
I don't know.
Oh, good. That's a good.
I don't think it's going to happen.
How come? Listen,
I think
enough. I mean,
no, I think you don't just launch a sport and make it an Olympic sport within 10 years since it's gone. Like it just doesn't happen that way. It takes time. Look how long it took for them to make golf an Olympic sport, and I think they yanked it. Didn't they yank it?
I don't know.
I think they did.
I don't really watch the Olympics either. I got to be honest with you. I don't watch a lot of sports.
Who's gonna watch? Are people gonna watch the Spartan Race? I watch swimming. I watch track and field. I like downhill skiing. The 5,000 crazy
curling. Or like they
actually
boards
once in a while I do watch curling. It's kind of entertaining. And there's some sports I'll watch.
Esports.
What about esports?
You watch those?
No, I don't watch games. Like those type of games. Like what's going to be impressive one day is that kids, like I'm looking at my son now, like they will watch each other play video games. Like I don't get it. Like
they do. They fill stadiums.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
And that scares me. I feel like that's going to take away from professional sports. I feel like younger kids are going to stop going to games as much as they get older. And I feel like professional baseball, professional hockey, I feel like they're going to have a tough time filling stands one day. That I do believe because kids are just like, they want to go watch video games. I'm like, how do you want to watch a video game? Like they're talking about these guys who have like 100 million YouTube subscribers and they are, competing against each other and they're making all this money. And I'm like, wow, they make more money than professional athletes.
So
it's a world I really know nothing about. I'm going to turn around one day. I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to be like my grandfather who was like, oh, these days, I don't know.
You're going to whip out your spectacles and like...
Yeah, I'm going to be like, are you kidding me? We never had cars that had gasoline in it.
We had cartridges.
We had, are you kidding me? Having to light a cigarette? Are you out of your fucking mind?
I think, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I think when I spoke to Joe about it and when we have him here, we can dig into it a little more. He's saying that these athletes, they train their asses off and they're in better condition or just as good a condition as some of these Olympic athletes. So why wouldn't they be able to compete on that stage?
What is he talking about with that? Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, they're in great this is like, and I know Joe, but Joe knows what Joe knows. And you could tell him I'm saying this right now. Like, Joe knows.
Well, you'll be able to tell him.
Right now, I'm going to say, Joe, you know Spartan. Like, you honestly do. Like, to turn around and say a guy who runs a Spartan race is going to compete or is in as good a shape as someone in the pool, it's a different shape. It's different conditioning. It's a different skill set. When you come off of, I don't care, you can be, Ryan Lochte getting out of a pool and then maybe he can't finish a Spartan race. I doubt it. I mean, I bet he could finish it, but is he going to be world class in it? I don't know. It's just different. It's different muscles. It's requiring the body and the brain to do different things. So to say that is like,
well, I don't think that
you're not comparing apples to apples here.
But I think he means adding it as an event to the Olympics. I don't think he means like...
But he does. No, I know Joe, and he does mean that. He's saying, oh, well, to do this event, these guys are in as good a shape as anyone else. It's it's a stupid comment.
Is that your impression?
Yes, it's a stupid comment. Yeah, it's a stupid comment for him to pass because you can't compare, like, Cristiano Ronaldo might be in incredible shape on the soccer field and you can get him, you know, on the pool or the ice skating rink and have him do, you know, laps in a, you know, 10 laps in a skating race and he might be dead. Like, it just doesn't, like, they don't transfer the way people think they transfer. Like, sure, there's some carryover and, you know, heart rate's heart rate. I get that. But when your muscle and your body and your energy system is requiring you to do something different, it's different. Your body gets the crap kicked out of it. I'm not saying that that person can't develop that energy system and they can't develop that cardiovascular capacity in a shorter period of time. Absolutely. But I don't know. I know what he's trying to do. I don't know. I don't know if anyone's going to want to see it. I don't know if anyone's going to care. I don't know if anyone's going to want to watch, you know, and, you know, how's the Tough Mudder races doing? People watch that stuff. Like,
I don't know.
Yeah, it's like, how exciting is that stuff? Like, I put it on, I watched a friend of mine in it, and after a while, I was like, all right, enough.
Yeah.
You know, like, you're watching a 90-hour race. It's like, give me a break. Like, I'm like, how often can you, like, what do you, like, you keep watching someone run through a desert. It's like, I don't know, it's a little, yeah, it's a little boring.
No, I didn't think of it like that. I've not watched one.
They will not make it an Olympic sport if it does not have eyes on it. So that's what I'm trying to say. Like, if it's like, unless people are going nuts over it, like Top Golf is is the hottest golf concept out there.
I don't know what that is.
Top Golf. So Top Golf is it's like Chelsea Piers, and anyone can go play. And you don't even have to be a good golfer, and you have these targets that you hit into, and the holes are bigger, and there's gamification components where people can play against each other, and you can go have a golf experience in less time and drink and have fun. Okay, like that, and it's blowing up, and that might take golfers away from the game of golf. Like, that to me, like, I look at that and know I'm a golfer and I'm someone who enjoys going on the course for 3 to 4 hours and playing with my friends, and I understand the history of the game. I am like a fraction of the athletic planet. But to say Tough Mudder is gonna move the needle and have the type of effect that Top Golf has on golf towards, you know, Tough Mudder towards other sports, or Tough Mudder or Spartan Race, I don't see it. I don't know.
I don't like golf, but I do like fun.
You like fun.
So maybe I would try this Top Golf.
So if I told you right now, you and a group of friends can go down, be in beautiful weather, hitting balls outside with beers, you know, music, all this crazy stuff, and you can go have an experience for a couple hours, you would do it in a second.
Sold.
Done. Now, are you going to go out on the golf course with 3 other friends, and are you going to sit there and wait behind groups for 4 to 5 hours? And are you going to spend $3,000 on clubs?
No, because those pants make my ass look fat.
Right. I think your ass would look great in them.
Thank you.
That's just me.
So another one then. Do you consider bodybuilders athletes, or is it more pageantry?
Ooh. I consider them athletes. Because there's a level of strength. Any bodybuilder, whether they're a strong bodybuilder or a weak bodybuilder, as a human being, they're strong. And there has to be a level of mind to muscle connection. There has to be a level of moving weight. I don't care if your reps are at 20 reps. I don't care if your reps are at 3 reps, whatever you believe in. I feel like there is a level of strength and, you know, that has, and endurance and recovery. And, you know, they're trying to put muscle on the body. This isn't an easy thing to do.
So that's it. But that defines what an athlete is then? Just lifting.
Well, what
weights?
does
I don't know.
What is that? I mean, being an athlete.
I'm trying to get to the bottom of it.
It's competing. Being an athlete's competing is somewhat. That's what I'm saying. Is playing video games a level of athleticism? You know, is driving a car around a track a level of athleticism? I think it is, because it's requiring a level of brain, of mental focus. Is golf? Is walking down a golf course and hitting a shot. Like, think about it. So on a golf course, you're walking a par 4. It's 400 yards. You're technically walking to the if you're a good golfer, you're walking to 2 shots. You're walking to your drive, and then you're hitting your second shot on the green. So you're basically walking the entire round, but that's considered a sport. There's a level of athleticism. There's a level of moving parts in the body that has to take place. There's a competitive level. And I think these bodybuilders are not only competing, some of them are competing in the gym, but they're all competing on stage.
But what is the athleticism that they're competing on stage? Is it just, I mean,
I think there's posing. I think posing's a huge part of it. So I think the ability.
But isn't that theatrics? Isn't that angles and theatrics?
Maybe.
I mean, and look,
and these are great points. I mean,
And I don't. That's the thing. I don't know. I don't know the answer to this. Somebody posed. I had this conversation with somebody else, and we both kind of ended up playing devil's advocates, kind of doing the same thing I'm doing with you.
Yeah,
because,
but I like it and keep it going. I think that a bodybuilder has to. He or she's got to be strong.
Yeah, and they also
have to have a level of muscular endurance
and intensity and dialed in, and they have to be. It's more than just lifting weights. There's more to it, but it's also like, where does the athleticism come into it? That's where I.
Well, I think the athleticism is coming into their recovery in between sets. I think their athleticism is coming into the movements that they have to perform under load.
But isn't that just patience?
No.
See,
No.
Okay, because if you're
Not
just
necessarily.
if you're lifting weights and you're just timing yourself and you're timing yourself, you just get up and lift more weights.
Yeah, but you have to recover and you have to be able to perform. If your body's unable to recover, you are unable to get under that load
But
and
that's
perform.
following instruction, right?
No,
like,
not necessarily. I don't know if I agree with that. I think there's a level of listen when you're and keep this going.
Yeah, no, I'll keep it going.
When you're going into the gym and you're performing different movements to stimulate muscle and to grow muscle, you've got to put your body into different positions that, you can argue maybe a golfer would have to put into. Like the golf swing's about angles, and it's about, setting, the arm, the club head, kinematic sequencing, allowing the hips, the torso, the arms, and the club head all to fire at a specific point. And I think some people would say, well, that's not athleticism. I think of course that's athleticism. You got to get into positions.
Yeah, it is.
A bodybuilder who has to get underneath a bar and get under a squat and perform those reps for a specific amount of repetitions and create tension and movement and all. That's a level of a level of athleticism.
Okay.
Now, when they're competing with people, it becomes a sport.
Okay, so learning the technique
Sure.
to train properly,
Right.
to build the muscle,
Sure.
is then considered the athleticism. Is considered the athleticism part. The
Yes.
competition.
I think the competition makes it the sport.
Okay, but I mean, here's the other part of it.
Could a
right?
board game be? Could you technically consider a board game a sport? I mean, I don't think so, because there's no athleticism.
No, Hungry Hippos is very, very.
Yeah, it's very. No, hear me out here.
Pound
Being serious. When you get up on stage and you're posing, there is a level of, mind to muscle connection. There's a level of mobility. There's a level of movement that has to go in there. When you're sitting there and you're playing chess, that's not requiring any athleticism. When you're on the stage and you have to move and you have to pose and you have to contract and you have to breathe and you're competing and you're being judged, I think it makes it a sport. I just think that you have to be an athlete. You have to be somewhat of an athlete to prepare yourself for the stage. I don't think anyone is just going to be able to work out and put muscle on and be able to compete. Like to get to the highest level, that Olympia level, there's got to be, you've got to have an X factor. To be that top 16 on stage, you've got to have an X factor. You've got to have some athletic ability to be able to create what you've created.
Is it athletic ability or is it drive? Is it wanting it more than somebody else?
I think it's a combination.
Because it may not even involve talent.
I think you can have all the drive in the world. I don't think all the drive in the world can get you to that level. You can have someone who's got all the drive in the world and wants to be a Major League Baseball player. It doesn't necessarily mean they're getting on stage. They're able to compete at that level.
Right, but that's different. Because it's different, because they either have to hit the ball or miss the ball. They either have to throw the strike or throw a wild pitch.
But you're trying to use drive as a factor. I think drive's a part of it, but it's not.
But again,
it's not what gets you there.
But if you're going to go lift weights every day and you're going to go,
you got to have a level of drive. Absolutely, I'm not saying that you don't. All the guys who compete at that level, they have an X factor in the gym to be able to get to that level. There was one guy I saw who just I thought I never saw the guy train hard who got there, and this was decades ago. It was that guy Lee Priest. I mean, every time you'd see him train, he was literally having a conversation. There was never any grit put into it. You asked me, do I think it's a sport, and my answer is yes. And my answer is yes, because I think you have the competitive factor. I think that there is athleticism being put into the work that needs to get to be on stage. And I think that when you're on stage, you have to be an athlete to be able to move and to be able to pose. And if you don't think so, try posing. I'm in great shape. All right. You tell me to go pose with one of these guys right now, and I'm going to feel out of shape. Because when you're sitting there and you're flexing and you're contracting and you're hosing poses for, minutes, seconds, minutes, call it what you want. I mean, that's taxing. That's a lot of work. When you had Phil Heath competing next to Kai Green, if you had anyone in America, whether they know anything about bodybuilding or not, tell me that those two weren't competing against each other while they were posing, you're out of your mind.
See, Phil Heath is showing what he's done.
He's showing what he's done, but he's trying to outpose the guy next to him. When they do the final two call-outs,
it's comparative because that's who the judges have placed next to each other.
Right, but they're competing against each other. They're trying to outpose each other. They're trying to be more symmetrical. They're trying to get into a better position, a better angle, a better lighting.
Using angles and lighting because it's a subjective.
Using angles and lighting on top of
because it's subjective.
On top of the work that they've put in over the last several decades.
Because it's subjective. Yeah, that's true.
Right.
Yeah, because it's subjective. It's not like boxing where you're counting how many blows have been hit and where they've been hit and how devastating they've been.
Correct.
It's how something looks in a specific pose, in a specific light, in a specific angle, right? So that's where I get, how are they really competing against one another? Really, isn't it they're trying to compete for the judges, trying to show their best aesthetic to them. So they're really trying to really angle themselves to the, and again, maybe this is semantics to you.
I get what you're saying, and you could look at it that way. I just
and I get
are they competing? Yes, they're competing for the judges, but they're also competing against each other.
I agree.
Because if Kai turns around, hear me out. If Kai is a terrible poser next to Phil, if Phil is just an exceptional poser, and he's sitting there and he's going into positions and he's hanging angles, and Kai looks awkward and he can't hold the pose, then man, Phil's outdoing Kai.
Yeah.
And this is an older example. So I do feel like there's a level of points being given towards who's posing better, who's able to hit those angles, who's able to capture the judge's eye more. So yeah, I do think that they're competing in that sense.
I agree, and I actually wanted to play both sides in this one because this is how frustrating it was for me to have this conversation with somebody else because it was the same. We went around in circles because we were both having the same conversation of you can see it a lot of different ways because at the end of the day, you really are. It is one person trying to get a panel to crown them, but at the same time,
you cannot argue whether soccer is a sport, right?
Correct.
Soccer is a sport.
Yes.
You're playing against each other. There's a winner at the end.
Yes.
Hands down. You could argue this. You asked me my opinion on what I thought, and I gave my opinion.
Yeah, I wasn't saying you're wrong. I'm
not saying that. You don't have to get defensive. I'm just telling you that.
Do you think I'm defensive?
Yes, I do. I think you're getting defensive.
I'm just asking you questions.
I think you're getting defensive.
I'm not defensive at all. I'm asking you questions, but I think that this elicits a lot of different opinions, and a lot of people can get fired up about it because there are a bunch of ways to look at it. I don't really get fired up either way because I'm not a competitor.
I've never had an urge to compete.
No,
ever.
me neither. But I also neither could I. And I also know how much it takes, and I don't have that in me. And those guys and women, it's hard.
But even when you brought up the Miss America pageant, the women are competing for the Miss America pageant. They're up there. They're having a contest. They're having a competition amongst each other for judges. And the judges, it's very easy in soccer because no judge has to quantify, who wins, the match. I mean, boxing, like you said, it's punches landed. It's soccer, it's goals scored. Baseball, if it's the last inning and the Mets, the guy Conforto hits a grand slam for the win, then they win. There's no judging there, right? Of course, you have your refs and your umps and all that crap. But yeah, this is different. But this is still a form of competition. That's just my opinion. I think just competition is different in different sports. And though sprinting, whoever wins the race at the end is the winner. I think it's not as black and white in bodybuilding, and that's where you would hear competitors bitch and complain about the politics of the sport and this one, I got robbed. And it's so funny, I was having a conversation with a specific judge and everyone, and he told me everyone who loses feels like they were cheated out of it. It's like none of them can, I was fucked. It's like take ownership. You lost. You weren't as good, and you have a group of judges that are pretty competent and they know what to look for, and they're up there making the decision. And 9 out of 10 times when I go to a bodybuilding show or when I see the results, and even when you look at pictures, because pictures are way different than looking at them in person. When you look at them in person, who's striking and who has specific symmetry, and a guy could look great from the front and then turn around and have no back and then he's screwed. It's just how it is. But 9 out of 10 times, you can look at someone and say, oh no, they deserve to win. Like very rarely do I feel like someone's up there who finished third and should have finished first.
It's something I wanted to ask Ben that I didn't get a chance to, was when people say that politics of the sport, what's it mean? What does that mean? Because I think
it's a bullshit. I think it's a cop out for a lot of people. I think it's when you lose, you lose. Like you gotta own it. Like politics of the sport. I think it's like anything else. It's like when you're being judged and there's judges up there. If you know judges, or if you play the game, or if you do specific things to help an organization, other people will point the finger and say, oh well, he's working with so and so, or well, he knows so and so. And I think it's, I don't know. I think it's bullshit. I think it's pretty tough to. Listen, I'm sure it's happened. I'm sure there's been points given because someone's like someone else. Come on, I mean, you got to figure that. But I think majority of the time it's bullshit.
Or is it about revenue? Is it about they can make more money for the?
I think it depends on the judges. I think it depends on the organization. I mean, we're talking bodybuilding now, so I can't turn around and say the IFBB is, are they concerned with making money? I'm sure they are. I mean, come on, it's a business. I'm sure. It's more listen, you see it with professional sports. When the Yankees are playing the Boston Red Sox in the ALCS, that's a little bit better than two last place teams playing each other. I mean, ESPN, CBS, Fox, the Yes Network, whatever the hell is covering these games, they're sitting there and they're a hell of a lot happier when the Super Bowl is when it's the New England Patriots playing. New Orleans Saints playing, you have Breeze versus Brady. I mean, that's a little bit more exciting than some no-name quarterback playing against another no-name quarterback. I mean, so yeah, I think it's normal in any organization to hope for, big things to happen.
Right.
It's the same thing as in bodybuilding.
You want the biggest names in the marquee.
I think bodybuilding is bodybuilding. I mean, I don't know. It's weird. Is it a dying sport? I mean, is it a dying sport? Because it seems like there's more people.
Is it a sport?
Well, I think so. But there's more. I mean, what cracks me up about it is everyone now is you see them on the Instagram pages. Everyone's putting like IFBB in front of their names, like they're an IFBB pro, they're an IFBB pro, and I'm like, okay, you're excited, you're proud about that. I get it, but what does that really mean? Is the sport growing? When I see at Bev Francis when they're hosting a posing thing, or when they're hosting a seminar. And Frank Seppi's up there talking, and Juliana Malacarni's up there talking, and Steve Weinberger's up there talking, and big names in the sport. There's hundreds of people showing up to listen to these, to these judges, these people, these.
And they're paying for it.
And they're or they're not paying for it, and they're I don't even know if they're charging, but they're showing up and they're sitting there for hours. So,
well, look,
they're there. That's what I'm trying to say. It's.
I think. I guess it's that's a tough question to answer. Is bodybuilding a dying sport? There are many divisions in the IFBB Pro League, and a lot of them are growing. I mean, you go to some of those NPC shows, and it's like a parade of people going on stage, whether it's men's physique or women's bikini. It doesn't necessarily. It's not men's bodybuilding. The biggest people in the room. That category may not be growing. That may not be what people want to look like anymore. But there's also now classic physique. There's also men's physique. There's also there's different levels of largeness for these people. They're not all huge anymore, and they've done that. I think it's a lot of different reasons. One, more categories, more people, more money, and there's just, are you going to sit there and watch 80,000 people in one category? How do you really start to differentiate between them? I mean, you got to have to cut them out at some point and start to bucket them in different categories to start to judge them fairly. I do believe it's a sport.
You do believe it's a sport.
I do. Okay. And but I do think it's tougher. It's a tough answer though. I really do think that because it's not as cut and dry as you said. It is, but I think a lot of the sport part of it though is in the training.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah, but no, you said the sport. I thought you said the sport part of it's in the.
No, I said in the training end of it, there's a level of strength and athleticism and recovery that has to go into doing that day in and day out, and then on the stage.
I'm sorry, you were droning on. I tuned you out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had something else to say to add to that. Mm-hmm. But I think it's interesting, and I bet you if we asked some other people, they'd get super fired up about it, especially if the people that put the time and the effort in.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, I mean, I don't even think it's I think when you're in there and you are, when you're in there with that iron and you're moving weight, I think I truly believe it's as much of a sport as running down the field and kicking a ball.
See.
Now it's the scoring component.
Yeah.
That you're saying differentiates the sport.
Yes.
So how about this? Imagine this. Imagine if a soccer player had to run up and down the field with a ball.
Yeah.
But there was no points. It was just like about possession. It was about moving it around. And you had judges there grading on elegance and speed of player and passes. And it was like kind of subjective in a way. It was almost like judging. Like, would you not consider that a sport? I would still consider that a sport.
So like the Westminster Dog Show, basically, is what you're saying?
Well, there's a level, and this is my point. There's a level of athleticism that has to go into the craft.
I'd never get a Labradoodle.
Yeah, but all you're saying, Jesus, the Labradoodle. All you're saying for your argument was, well, what's categorizing a sport is a number that goes up on a board or a screen. So it's once that ball goes to the net or once that ball goes over the wall, suddenly there's a quantifiable measure that's determining who's ahead or who's winning. So now that makes it a sport.
No, but I'm thinking that someone else determining arbitrarily who wins isn't necessarily good either. I mean, why is it that... I mean, judging in boxing is also very controversial, too.
How many times do we see in soccer or hockey that there's an awful call made?
Yeah, or football.
And the outcome of a game completely changes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's still...
That's human error, though.
Yeah, I know.
But that's human error.
But there could be human error with judging.
But that's the thing. There definitely is. I mean, that's the thing. This is a very... I think there's probably people that can debate it much better than me. Probably not.
I think you're debating it really well. No, I don't think I'm debating. I think I'm giving you what I believe.
More praise for me. No, I'm kidding.
There's a level of strength and athleticism that has to go into preparing to get on that stage, and then there's a competitive component when you're on stage. And I think that categorizes a sport. I think you could turn around now, and I mean, there's people that turn around. They say, well, driving a NASCAR isn't a sport, and I'm like, well, what are you talking about? Like, well, you're sitting in a car and your foot's on the gas. I'm like, it's not that simple. Like, no, there's drafting and you have your pit crew and there's a level of endurance, and driving a car at that speed around the track is incredibly tiring. And
what music do you listen to?
Yeah, of course. Are you wearing your ear pods? Or are you just wearing, like, you probably can't wear ear pods. It's probably too loud. You probably have to wear like a muff. And
Days of Thunder, Cold Trickle.
Cold Trickle. Robin's Racing.
Yeah, so
it is a good discussion, but it's bodybuilding. It's
But I think that's also, in part, what makes it a unique. It makes it unique. That fuels debate, and then it also allows people to pick sides. And it's as vitriolic as the internet can be. It gives people every single year. Go to Reddit, go to Facebook, go to whatever after the Mr. Olympia or after the Arnold Classic or after any major show, the New York Pro. People are going to bitch about who got screwed.
Oh, it's terrible.
And that's that's because
it's terrible.
Yeah, and it's because they're so blind who they want to win or who they hate that they'll see what they want to see. Like a lot of people really dislike Phil Heath. So the fact that they dislike him, they'll never be able to see his physique as anything more than like what the
guy's got a tremendous. I think he's got a tremendous physique. I mean, he's not. I mean, listen, I'm sure he doesn't give a shit on my opinion, but he didn't come off great on camera several times. I mean, he doesn't come off, great in interviews. He's just, there's just certain people that come off great and they don't come off great, and that's it. It doesn't make him a good person or a bad person, but I think that's why I think also Kai became a big fan favorite early on, and it was this kind of battle early on. Then Kai vanished, and then Phil. And I think at that point, when you're up on the throne, people want to see you come down. They want to see you get taken down. And Sean Roden won it, right? He deserved to win.
He looks fantastic. But I think what the difference with Kai is, it's personality, right? Like, so he has he's unique, and there's depth to him.
Okay.
And I'm not saying that Phil or even Sean or anybody else doesn't, but there's something there. Like, Kai's an artist. Kai does a lot of unique things that
he's a unique looking guy.
That too. And I think
he's a unique looking guy.
That like for somebody that's looking to try to do something different in the space, and that's what we're actively trying to do, believe it or not, we're trying. And sometimes we fall flat on our face and then flat on our ass. And, you know, we swing and miss. But we're trying. And when we see a guy like Kai, it's like it's a light at the end of the tunnel. We sprint to that because we want to try to do things with him. And
because he has that X factor.
Yeah. And
he's
cool.
got that level of, okay, this is cool. He's mysterious looking. And that's why he's so big over in, you know, overseas. He's a monster. I mean, I think over in China, Japan, I mean, the guy's like a freaking beast. I mean, everyone loves him.
He's Upside Down World, I think he's big. He's in Stranger Things.
What?
He's in Stranger Things season 2,
really?
dude. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Well, if you would have, the joke would have probably been way fucking better.
It's not better. I've seen like one episode of Stranger Things.
Well,
unfortunately,
episode 2 is better.
It's a great note. It was a great show. I just haven't gotten around to watching it.
No, I mean, we're trying, you know, we want to, we meet a lot. We brainstorm a lot about trying to, not just in bodybuilding. I mean, in bodybuilding, you know, we want to as well, but we talk about how we can do things with some of our celebrity cover stars, some of the people that we work with. We want to do things that don't involve just picking up a weight and curling it or lifting it up over your head. We want to do more that's in depth. We want to do more with doctors, with, you know, brain. That sounded really stupid.
No, like
you know what I mean. Like it's
Taro, the guy's name from Four Sigmatic. Mm-hmm. Like, I thought he was awesome.
Yeah,
I thought he was great to interview.
Yeah.
I thought he very smart, very knowledgeable. Brought a really interesting element to the table on discussing his product. I mean, he wasn't sitting there hard pushing his product. He was just giving some good science behind it. And I've been taking his product for over a year. It's a great product. So stuff like that's fun. I think that's interesting. I think that's going to help That's going to help better. I think a lot of the viewers where, you know, when someone's putting a program up, it's interesting to know how The Rock trains and this and that. But most of the time, you know, is it really the program? Right? Let's face it. Is it really the program? One. And then two, you know, the program that The Rock's doing might be the worst thing for a 17-year-old to do. They may not even need it. Like, you know, The Rock's always squatting with a safety squat bar, which I like, but may not be right for someone else. And he's always doing this this belt squat machine because he's got specific maybe ailments to his knees or whatever it might be. So just because someone's doing something doesn't mean that's what other people should be doing. I think we need to teach people how to fish and not always say teach people reading the magazines, like how to figure that out and make the decisions for themselves. Thank you for joining us for Muscle and Fitness Reps. I'm Don Saladino.
I'm Zack Zeigler.
And guys, we're really growing something special here. So tell your friends, ask questions, and we'll see you next episode. Take care.